This is Talking Jobs with me, Rachel Bromnick, and the subject today will be about doing a Masters at Lincoln University. So, we're appealing to everyone who loves their studies and wants to stay on and take advantage of one of our wonderful postgrad courses. You can stay in psychology with Masters in Forensic Psychology, Developmental Psychology, Research Methods, and you can also stay on to do a Masters by Research, so doing a Research Masters rather than a taught Masters. And new this year, we offer Postgraduate Diploma in Counselling / Masters in Counselling that I know will be a very popular choice for many of you. So in the studio today, I have one of our colleagues from the Postgraduate Office who is going to tell you all about the benefits of doing a Masters and how to apply here at Lincoln. Welcome, Lauren!
Hello! Hi, Rachel!
Thank you for coming in.
No, thank you for having me.
Welcome to the School of Psychology. Do you want to just introduce yourself, say a little bit about your name and what you do here?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Lauren Krapke. Some people may be familiar with me having been into their lectures if they're in their final year. I work in the postgraduate team, so my job is to provide as much information as possible to people who are looking to progress onto a Masters. So we mainly sort of help with applications for taught master programmes, but we can also advise on Masters by Research. We give information about fees and funding, scholarships, deadlines on applications and how to apply. So it's my job to make sure that people are as informed as they need to be to make that decision and ultimately hopefully apply as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, let's backtrack and talk about some of those things. But I think maybe to start with, should we talk about what you think is the benefits of doing a Masters?
Yeah, absolutely. So people will decide to do a Masters for a variety of different reasons. There are a number of different benefits for studying a Masters. One of those is to be a specialist in your subject. So if you've been studying your degree for the last 3 years and you absolutely love what you do, you've had a fantastic 3 years and you want to specialise and become...
Like a forensic psychologist, that one,
exactly,
for example.
Exactly, yeah. So if you want to become an expert in that particular area and continue on to your studies, go on to that extra level, then the Masters option is a great one for those people. It means that they will distinguish themselves from other people who've maybe come out of university with an undergraduate degree but haven't progressed on to that next step.
Right.
So it helps with employability as well. More than a third of graduates are now coming out with a postgraduate qualification as well as an undergraduate degree.
Right.
So it means that you're keeping up with the curve essentially, and staying competitive in that job market.
Right. I know it can help people that are looking to do a PhD in particular. You often see it's not always required, but it's often seen as an advantage for getting onto a PhD programme.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's quite common for people to do a Masters course and then progress onto a PhD as well. We do say that one of the benefits of doing a Masters is that it sort of unlocks your potential in terms of going into academia. So many of the academics that teach at the University of Lincoln and other educational institutions across the country will generally have qualifications over and above that undergraduate level degree. So that is another, very specific benefit to studying a Masters course.
And I mentioned at the introduction about some of the ones we offer here at the school, but I keep in touch with a lot of our graduates, and I know we've had people stay on at the university and do other Masters, so psychology students can look across the whole prospectus. Have you got some sort of examples or ideas of different things?
Yeah, absolutely. So psychology graduates are very in demand. They've got fantastic transferable skills that they can utilise across other areas of the university and academia. In terms of specific examples, occupational therapy, social work, nursing. We do a Masters in mental health nursing, so that could be really, really relevant for psychology graduates who want to go into that sort of practice.
Brilliant. And those are like... they're not purely academic, are they? They get placements and they get professional qualifications for those ones.
Yeah, so they lead really, really well into careers. So graduates from those areas tend to go into jobs really easily after graduating. So they're fantastic. There's also options in terms of doing a PGCE if you wanted to maybe go into primary or secondary school teaching. We do offer both at the University of Lincoln. Brilliant. So psychology graduates would again be really, really sought after commodities in that
sure.
respect. And business courses as well, business programmes at
It's
the
like
university.
HR management or something?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And those courses tend to accept graduates from a whole range of different academic backgrounds. So yes, psychology students may not have necessarily thought of it as a pathway after they graduate, but it's definitely an option for them.
I think as well we've had people do all kinds of what might seem off the wall. Some of our students have gone on to the more creative masters, like in film studies and so people
absolutely.
can think broadly, can't they, as well as
definitely
for psychology.
Right,
great. So hopefully some of our listeners will be thinking of applying. So can you just talk us through what a Lincoln student might need to do to apply? We've also got some of our graduates listening, so I don't know if it's different if they're applying from outside. So if you could just tell us about what people have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So the application, as you rightly said, does depend on whether you're an internal student, so an existing final year student at the university, or whether you're an external candidate, and that includes our alumni.
Okay.
Now, for the majority of our programmes, the applications go through the fast track application process. That's for the internal students, so our current final years. There is a postgraduate applications tab on their Blackboard page.
Brilliant.
So if they navigate towards that tab, there's then a banner across the top of the page that says fast track application. You can click on that. It's literally a 7-stage process, so it's very, very straightforward. They just need to provide some personal information, but actually we have a lot of that given that they're currently studying with us anyway.
So we can look at their grades and things like that.
Exactly, so we'll get that at the point of the results being released, so they don't even need to send in transcripts or anything like that. We can automatically update our systems once those come through in the summer. So the question sort of relates to what course do you want to study, do you have any additional needs that we need to sort of take account of and make sure that we're aware of, and then there's a personal statement requirement as well. You can either fill out the personal statement there and then, or you can email it separately. So if you wanted to apply but just mark the personal statement section to follow, that's absolutely fine. That's completely doable.
And people can talk to one of their academic tutors or the careers service if they wanted some advice for that personal statement.
Exactly, yes, yeah. So there's lots of support out there. The postgraduate team have guidance that we can send out to students. So if anybody does have queries, then we're more than happy to help. We've got written guidance that we can email out as well. And we can probably mention this later on in the podcast, but we do application assistance drop-ins on Friday afternoons.
Well, let's talk about that now.
Okay, wonderful. In that case,
drop-ins on a Friday.
A seamless link. So we've got application drop-ins running from 2 till 4 every Friday. They take place in the Student Support Centre on the ground floor of the Minerva building.
Okay.
So students can drop in, they don't need to book an appointment or anything like that. They can come along, we can help them, give them advice. They can submit their applications there and then if they want to. If they don't want to, that's absolutely fine. We can just run through exactly what they need to do. It's open to people who aren't currently studying at the university as well. So if we do have alumni listening,
they
they're
can
more than
return,
welcome.
or they can follow some external links to apply if they're listening from outside.
Yes, so if you're listening from outside, then the application process is done via our website. So each course page that we have has an Apply Now button. They just need to navigate to that, they create an account, and then they just fill out an online application and send it off to admissions. So yes, if you're an external candidate, if you're not currently studying at the university, it's just through the website.
Great. Thank you very much. And we have open days as well, don't we?
We do, yes. We've just had a really successful open day on Saturday, which was lovely. That was our sustainability themed open day. So we did a tree planting pledge. Every application that we received, we're planting a tree at the Rise Home campus.
Oh, lovely.
But we do have other events going on.
People can check the website for the next event and things.
Exactly, yes. We've got a dedicated PG events website, which is on the University of Lincoln main site, and there's booking forms on there. So yes, people who are interested in coming along, if they just check that, and there'll be the latest information on there.
So if somebody's looking to start in 2020, let's say September 2020, what would be the deadline for courses for that year?
So many of our courses start in September, as you rightly say. Some of our healthcare courses
they
start in
in
January.
That's right.
Yes, and they tend to have more formal deadlines because they do tend to be oversubscribed. So it's worth double checking with those individual courses when their deadlines are and when their applications open as well, because some applications aren't open for the January programmes.
Yes.
In terms of the vast majority of our courses that do start in September, there isn't a formal deadline as such. We tend to advise students and external candidates to get their applications in sooner rather than later, just so they can make the necessary preparations and they know exactly where they are, so they can plan essentially for the Masters. But I would normally advise people to get their applications in prior to the summer, just so that they're not worried about following up as such. Generally speaking, if you submit an application for a taught Masters programme, admissions are very, very swift in turning around those applications and coming back with a response. So it doesn't take too much time. If you're looking at applying for a Masters by research, then sometimes the application process is a little longer, just because the application goes through to the school as well.
And then they consider supervisors and that kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
I would say as well to students, I think from my own personal experience, I loved my whole degree, but it wasn't until the later stages of my third year that I really started to kind of ace it. I really started to do really, really well. And it wasn't until maybe around the Easter or of my third year when I thought, I want to stay. So I would say to people, when you start to get your grades, when you start to get your dissertation completed and things, you might not be thinking now of doing a Masters, but bear it in mind, because there might still be places, if you haven't decided until Easter or your results coming out, it's worth still looking, isn't there?
Absolutely,
for places.
Yeah. And if you get your results and then think, actually, yes, I really do want to stay on, then please do just get in touch. There probably will be spaces still available at that stage, so I'd never want to dissuade anybody from looking into it further. So yes, absolutely, if you get your results and then want to apply, we'll be able to assist you.
And it might be
that.
for the more practice-based masters, like the social work or nursing, it may be that those people should get some client-based experience and then think about applying.
Absolutely,
down the line.
So some courses, such as those healthcare masters, they do have a work experience requirement. The entry requirements are on the course pages on the website, so students can refer to that. But as you said, sometimes that would be really, really helpful for the applications, and sometimes mandatory as well. So it's worth looking into that further.
Now then, the final thing we need to talk about is the money.
The money, the bit that everyone's interested to know about.
Or worried about, interested, worried.
Yeah.
So there are postgraduate loans, aren't there?
Yes. Yeah.
How does that work? I'll ask you. How does that work?
So there are postgraduate loans available. They've recently been brought in the last few years. So when I graduated back in 2012, they didn't exist. So it's really good that they are now available for students. They're available for both taught masters and masters by research, full-time and part-time as well. So people who query whether they'll be eligible for funding on a part-time basis, if it's a master's course, then yes, you should be able to secure a loan for that course. The postgraduate loan system is operated by Student Finance England. If you're currently receiving your loan through Student Finance England, you will continue with them. The situation is slightly different for Welsh students, Scottish students and Irish students, so it's definitely worth getting in touch with Student Finance Scotland, for instance, if you are a Scottish student. But presuming that most people are currently receiving their funding through Student Finance England, you would stay with them. The loan value for courses starting in September 2020 is £11,222, so a nice round number. I don't know how they reach these figures, but that's the loan value for September. And applications open for that in May or June time this year, so they haven't actually opened yet. You can apply for those loans any time up to 9 months after you started your course. So there's not an imminent deadline that students need to be sort of putting in their calendars just yet. The way that the postgraduate loan system works, it's much more straightforward in many ways than the undergraduate system, in that it's not means tested. So you're not providing evidence of parental or household income anymore. It's a sort of one-size-fits-all system at postgraduate level. So you can apply for the maximum loan value, that £11,222 figure, or you can apply for less if you wanted to. If you only wanted to take out a couple of £1,000 loan instead, then that's absolutely fine. You can do that. The loan gets paid in instalments. If you're studying a full-time course, then it gets paid in each term. So again, mirroring how the undergraduate loan's paid in.
Okay, good.
And you set up a payment plan with the university. So the loan gets paid to you, and then you pay the tuition fees to the University of Lincoln. And you can pay either all up front at the beginning of the year, over 3 instalments, so those termly instalments to match the loan payments to you, or you can pay in monthly instalments as
That's
well.
quite flexible then.
It is, yeah. So it's about how you budget best. Now that £11,222 figure is not comprised of a maintenance and tuition element. It's all in one lump sum. So it's up to you how you budget that and apply that. Some students do end up sort of working alongside, having a part-time job as well to supplement that. Other students maybe are able to get away with using savings or, you know,
other
support
sources.
from,
I think a lot of the master's teaching is condensed onto 1 or 2 days for a lot of the programmes, aren't they? As far as possible. To allow people to do that working alongside it.
Exactly, and the university does have flexible working options for students. So for instance, my team often use student ambassadors, so students volunteer for those shifts.
Right,
so,
and those are paid,
and if you're really struggling with workload, then you don't need to volunteer, but if you want to earn a little bit of extra money, then it's a really good way of getting money flexibly. So we operate that system. We also have a job shop to help students. So there's plenty of options out there.
Right, great.
In terms of repayment for the loan, again, it's similar to the undergraduate system in that you don't start repaying until you earn over a certain amount. The threshold is £21,000 in earnings for the postgraduate loan. So once you earn over £21,000, the repayments kick in at a percentage of that surplus. So for instance, if you earn £22,000 a year, you earn £1,000 over that surplus, and then you repay it 6% across your monthly paycheck. So depending on how you earn, that will affect the repayment figures.
Am I right in thinking there's a reduction for Lincoln students? We used to offer a scholarship does that still exist?
Yes, you're quite right. So there is an alumni scholarship for our graduates, and that means graduates from 5-10 years ago as well. So it's not just
any
people who are graduating
yeah.
this year, which is brilliant. The scholarship, the alumni scholarship value this year is 20% of tuition fees. So it's a really good sort of incentive for students to stay with Lincoln or to come back to Lincoln. For international students, it's a £2,000 discount. So there'll be fees and funding information on each course page, so you can see what the tuition fees are and whether the scholarship applies to that particular programme. Some of the healthcare masters, for instance, it doesn't, but for the vast majority of programmes we offer, there is that alumni scholarship there, and that's 20% for UK EU, £2,000 off for international students.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Lauren. Is there any sort of final comments or bits of advice you want to offer our listeners?
To impart
my
pearls
of wisdom.
In terms of any final words, I suppose if you do have any questions and would like to follow up, then the postgraduate team do drop-ins at the library in the Careers Centre every Wednesday. So that's 12 till 4:30. Sorry. Again, you don't need to book; you can just turn up, and that's every Wednesday. And again, the application drop-ins, if you wanted to come along to get specific assistance on applications, then those are Fridays 2 till 4.
Right, brilliant. Well, that's great. Thank you for all you're doing to support our students.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. My first podcast.
I hope some of our listeners will really consider doing a master's, and you say you're dropping at the career service. People can also get some advice about how a particular programme might fit their long-term ambitions.
Yeah,
but I know some of our undergraduates do very well, and I know that people who've stayed on to do our masters are also really successful out there in the workplace.
Yeah,
So definitely something we should promote.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed myself.
Oh, all we need to do now is say goodbye, everyone. You've been listening to Talking Jobs with me, Rachel Bromnick, and Lauren Crackney, talking about doing a masters. Bye, everyone. Bye.